Night Blue squad. We got Night Blue most likely in the jungle. Who knows with these games? Could go anywhere. We've got Golden Glue in the mid lane. We've got Biofrost, legendary support player. I, the sub for X-Pecake, amazing ADC, and of course Moonway, sort of a flexible player. We'll probably go top lane given that Golden Glue is on the lineup. Do we have someone instantly dropping out of the lobby? Looks like we might have a connection issue, so we'll get you back into this pick ban in just a second. We do know that Blitzcrank was banned first. So, exciting stuff. Nothing has really happened yet. Welcome back. I hope you guys all voted in the time that we were away, Enjoyed that Twitch chat experience, went and voted at OMEN.gg. Maybe have the chance of winning a laptop. Who knows? You can say, hey, I voted and won a laptop during week 3 in between games 1 and 2 after watching Trick2G crush Voyboy. Wouldn't that be sweet? Wouldn't that be a great thing you'd want to be able to repeat? All right, back into pick bans, or not, because these people love to troll me. We appear to be jumping back and forth. All right, bear with me, folks, as we're going to go into this. This is obviously my first time solo casting, and this is game 2, so I'm a little bit jazzed up. I just talked for 50 minutes straight. I'm probably going to talk for another 50 minutes. So bear with me as we go into this dramatic series of games. So for those of you who don't know, I mentioned it earlier, but I is going to be the sub for X-Pecake, the Uzi himself. Unlike Optimus Tom last week, who was convinced that Twitch used an Uzi, he actually uses a crossbow, for those of you who have no idea what weapons are. So I won't make that mistake. There are no characters in this game with Uzis. There are characters in this game with Tommy guns. We'll see which character he decides to pick up. Obviously, he loves weapons. Obviously, he loves 80 carries. It'll be interesting to see what he gets. Golden Glue. Not necessarily the glue that holds this team together, but a player who probably shouldn't be given a Zir. So Nightblue's lineup looking pretty darn strong, especially because Voyboy's team opted not to ban that last game. Voyboy, though, of course, has a little bit of experience with Golden Glue himself, given Golden Glue's time in the challenger scene and, of course, subbing in the professional games. So probably smarter about the pick ban this phase. They don't have to worry quite so much about Trick2G's specific picks and RF Legendary specific picks, where somehow RF Legendary got Nidalee, but only because his Rek'Sai was so terrifying. Of course, Blitzcrank, the first ban. One more time as we jump into this champion select. On the opposite side, what will Ethel ban? Let us see. I'm guessing something away from Golden Glue or Nightblue. Nightblue, of course, very confident in this new jungle, has had a lot of experience in the past, has picked a lot of Rengar, a champion very popular in competitive play, and obviously pretty strong in solo queue. Azir banned out almost immediately. Voyboy giving a lot more respect to that champion after he kind of got worked by it last game, let's be real. So no surprises there. Karthus banned away from his Zingy. That one surprises me a little bit, but I understand. Nightblue's team, of course, might look for more team fights than Trick2G's team. Not quite as confident in split pushing, and Karthus able to do a lot in those team fights. Rek'Sai banned away as well. Not something I've seen Nightblue play too much of, but I also haven't been watching too much recently. So entirely something he could be confident in. Also a viable top laner in a lot of situations. Janna banned away as well. Consistently the last ban from blue side. No surprises. One of the strongest supports in the game, obviously has a lot of offensive and defensive options, providing a lot of utility and pretty much good in any lineup. For those of you wondering, Rek'Sai is banned, but the overlay for whatever reason does not work, so that Aatrox spot is actually Rek'Sai. Syndra also banned away. Golden Glue getting a lot of hate here, no surprise. Obviously really confident mid laner. Nightblue picking up that quick thresh, taking it away from I Am Matlife and giving it to Biofrost. Biofrost, another one of those challenger level players who is so good on Thresh. I expect to see a lot of hooks coming out. This is looking a lot like the last pick ban phase, however. Voyboy's team now opting to hover over Corki and J4. Both of these picks would make a lot of sense. J4's kind of the new standard in the jungle. He's not Lee Sin in the sense that he has that amazingly strong early game, but he can gank really early as level 2 if he needs to, and scales pretty well throughout the game. His ult Cataclysm giving him a lot of utility, and Ethel respecting the Biofrost pick, or Biofrost Corki pickup if he does opt for Syndra there. Pretty nervous about those hooks, I think. Might be wanting to get that spell shield, but Corki obviously going to give him a lot more power if he does decide to go with that, but much safer pick coming out when he opts to go for Sivir. So a little surprising that Sivir's picked up. Not a character I've seen a whole lot recently, but if you want to be safe from a Thresh, a Spell Shield's a pretty safe way to do it. So Golden Glue and Biofrost now up to pick. They have a lot of options here. They know obviously the Marksman and the Jungler for the other side, so they can respond defensively by opting to go with a Jungler and a Marksman of their own, or they can be a little more aggressive and try to secure things like their mid laner or that top laner. One of the things to consider here is that Jarvan is not necessarily limited to going into the jungle. He's also pretty well known for being a counter to Lissandra in that top lane if this is something the enemy team opts to go with. Also, just a pretty strong character overall at this point in the game, and having access to that flex pick and that option to go between two roles gives the enemy. It's going to make it really hard for the enemy team to read exactly where these champs are going to go, except of course Sivir, who pretty much has to go in the bot lane. There's not a whole lot of options there. Nightblue opting to go with that Elise pick here. Not exactly the strongest jungler in the new jungle. Obviously a very safe clear, but doesn't really have the raw power that J4 does. We'll be able to clear the jungle at much higher health, though, and will be much better for invading J4 in this early game. So it'll be interesting to see how well Nightblue uses this pick. In the past, he has been a pretty aggressive jungler and looked to counter gank a lot and invade enemy jungle a lot. So I'm really hoping to see aggressive play from him because, if not, just a much weaker pick overall compared to J4. Azingi hovering over the Nami for I Am Matlife. Nami, of course, has a solid lane matchup against Thresh. Not amazing. They did try to pick the Gragas against Thresh last game, but I think that didn't really work out so well for them, just because despite the fact that Voyboy was playing Yasuo and it did give them some pretty good engage options, Lulu locked in another defensive support. Does give pretty huge engage options, and Voyboy getting that Akali that he wanted last game before it was baited out. So there's going to be some pretty exciting level 6 action from both these teams. With a Sivir on your team, you're always going to be looking to chase in for those fights at level 6, and of course, Lulu able to ult that J4, going to provide consistent CC for the team, and once again, a really excellent hard engaged Tom coming out from Voyboy's team here with the added benefit of Voyboy now on an assassin that he is known to play. So, his Akali has been legendary since he was a top laner. Obviously a character he knows how to play really well, so it'll be interesting to see how they utilize this pick here and if he can get ahead in the early game, which I think is going to be one of the most important things. And you do see Moonway flicking through top laners here. Not quite sure what he wants to go with, but it will be interesting. He's going to probably have to pick a really defensive matchup, so he's hovering over this Aurelia, and I'm guessing this is what's going to be locked in, despite the fact, however, that Gnar, Lissandra, and Rumble, the 3 most powerful top laners in the meta right now, are available, but I think Moonway wants that safe 1v1 matchup, which, as we saw from RF Legendary's Nidalee last game, you got to be safe in that top lane if you don't want your team to get snowballed on. And Golden Glue, going to get that Xerath pick. Once again, very safe mid laner. Going to be able to punish Voyboy in those early levels with his lack of range and lack of early game damage. But, once that hits level 6, things are going to be really tough for Golden Glue. He will be able to provide a lot more in a team fight if they're even. But if Voyboy's ahead, he's pretty much going to be picked off every time Voyboy has enough charges of Shadow Dance. So, Sicko Scott, of course, last pick here. Most likely picking a top laner. Flex picks forbid, but we will see what happens. I'd really like to see a more teamfight-oriented pick, but he is hovering over that Yasuo. Like, Voyboy might not even play that Akali. Like, all that praise I gave him might be worthless, but we'll see. Rumble, Gnar, Lissandra, Challenger players, I love you. Please pick one of those characters. But no, they love their solo lanes, they love their solo lane dominance, and they love their Yasuo ult synergy. So, Jarvan able to knock that up. Lulu able to knock people up. We're going to have that Yasuo coming in. I'm guessing for Voyboy, I'm guessing it's more likely to see that Akali top lane. Akali top lane against Aurelia. Pretty safe matchup. Both champions have that weak early game, so a lot of Akali's vulnerabilities kind of mitigated by the option to send her to that top lane. And then, of course, Voyboy in that mid lane with Yasuo once again. Just a very strong Yasuo player. And this game against Golden Glue, despite the fact that Yasuo's wall only blocks one of Xerath's projectiles, he still will be able to poke out Voyboy in the early game. So really good use of that Akali flex pick, kind of tripping up the enemy team, but at the same time, not really a whole lot of tanky options out here. You're going to get a lot of faux tankiness from that Lulu ult and that Lulu shield, but outside of Jarvan, really no good tanky options. Aurelia, Thresh, and Elise on the opposite side, however, are going to be much more tanky. It'll be interesting to see how Nightblue opts to build Elise in this circumstance, and we'll find out all this and more as we going to get this game underway. Of course, we have to go through that 3-minute spectator delay, but before we do, make sure to head on over to omen.gg and vote. You could tell the harrowing story of how you won a computer by voting for Challenger players in draft order. Keep voting for Trick2G first if you want to keep seeing him split push with RF Legendary, because I guarantee someone else is going to take that guy away from him. But, on the other hand, if you want to see Cutie Pie pick Blem first for the best laughs ever, do that. It's up to you. Vote for what order you would like. So head on over to that website, check it out, and vote. Big thanks to HP and Intel, our sponsors. Thanks to you guys for allowing me to solo cast for you tonight, and we'll be back in just a minute. Everyone, and welcome back to Game 2 between Nightblue Squad and Voyboy. interesting rotations coming right off the bat. We do see all of Nightblue squad moving up to the top side of the map. They may look to go for this early invade here. They do have a lot of early game CC options, so they could be trying to go for first blood. Sicko Scott standing in that bush, blissfully unaware of what's coming for him, although he does see it coming and does manage to back off. Golden Glue going to start that Q and not even throw it, wants that mana back. So they are going to opt to run in here, get a little bit of deep ward coverage, trying to figure out where Jarvan is going to start. This information is pretty important because it lets you know where Jarvan's going to end up. As far as ganks go, he could end up in the bot lane, he could end up in the mid lane. So I'll be curious to see exactly what happens here, although it's unlikely that much is going to come of this at this point in the game. Voyboy's team on the opposite side does opt to go for a deep invade on the bottom side of the map because they know exactly where the enemies are, and they're all actually going to stand in this bush. It'll be interesting to see if they can get first blood here. It looks like Nightblue's team is blissfully unaware, although it also looks like they have no reason to enter that side of the jungle. Nightblue getting a little cheeky, wandering into mid lane. You want the red buff, Nightblue. Go for the red buff. Never mind. Voyboy's team backs off. Not looking to stay that long. Would prefer to get their jungler an optimal start than risk not getting any first blood by standing in those bushes there. Both teams probably going to opt for standard lanes here. It's unlikely in these games that we'll see anyone go for a lane swap. Most players are used to solo queue, and running into a lane swap requires a little bit more macro strategy. Players don't really have the experience for. Nightblue immediately smiting, starting with those Gromps. Neither bot lane side, interestingly enough, is going to get that early EXP advantage. Voyboy, of course, playing hyper-aggressive against Golden Glue, opting to start his dash so that he can get in there and dodge a lot of Golden Glue's early poke. So, meanwhile, on the top lane, no surprises that Akali's going to start defensive against this Aurelia lane, not really having the same early damage. Biofrost immediately getting that hook, though, at level 1. Ethel not able to buy or upgrade Spell Shield yet, so not really a whole lot of options she has other than dodging that, which is clearly something that Ethel is not quite comfortable with. Uzi CSing pretty confidently. Mid lane matchup going in Voyboy's favor at this point. Did opt to start boots to further allow him to dodge that harass. J4 has now moved on to his blue buff. Will most likely get to level 3 pretty quickly here. It looks like, however, Nightblue is clearing his jungle at about the same speed, and at the same time, Nightblue is also dropping low, so despite the fact that Elise can have that safe early clear, it looks like she has not opted to let the Spiderlings tank a lot of that damage, and as a result, not going to get quite the same safe clear. So both J4 and Elise are going to have to back here. Not a whole lot of options for them. Voyboy pretty aware of this at this point and able to continuously push out this mid lane, trying to get as much of an early advantage as possible. We do see level 2 coming up from both sides in the bot lane. Neither side looking to hard engage. I am MatLife once again denied his Thresh, however, opting to pick Lulu this time instead of Gragas. Lulu, not a character we've seen a whole lot since her play in top and mid lane competitively, but obviously still a very versatile, very strong character. Into kind of the same realm as Janna, where she has that defensive and offensive utility. So it'll be interesting to see how exactly that pans out. Both junglers now going for their opposite buff. I'm wondering if they're both going to end up in this top lane and what's going to happen if they do, because it looks like Aurelia is pretty poised to dominate the lane at this point, and they're going to need that pressure if they want to get Sicko Scott safely to level 6. Biofrost getting poked out here by I am MatLife, not quite having the same attack range as Lulu, so able to pretty safely auto-attack that lane. However, Biofrost hooking a minion, taking it out, I think with an execute proc, so passing it over to Uzi. Not the worst thing in the world, but definitely blowing a lot more mana than he needed to there. As Zingy, instead of opting to go top lane, is opting to go mid lane, trying to pressure Golden Glue out of the lane. A quick flash burn from Golden Glue will keep him safe, but, that's a 5-minute cooldown down, and he doesn't have a whole ton of defensive options here, especially against that wind wall from Yasuo. So, Yasuo looking poised to dominate this lane. Does have a few more CS, not enough to be notable. MatLife getting locked down there. Uzi immediately exhausting and then having to jump out. A Zingy rotating down, using that red buff really well. Opting to go on Biofrost instead, seeing the vulnerability there. Biofrost does have to burn flash. A Zingy missing that the Dragon Strike there, but does get the Demacian Standard, and a quick flash follow-up from his remaining, at least from Lulu, will get him the kill. Nightblue going into top lane, does get that stun off. Aurelia, unfortunately, not behind a stealth or health, not able to get the stun off for herself, and ends up trading about even there for health just because of how many tower shots are tanked. So Nightblue gonna stay in that bot lane. Just existing there will keep Akali back for a little while, and he is going to go back to finish up, whatever he can, grab a few more items, and opt to continue clearing. You can see that Sicko Scott is still very, very cautious. Not sure if Nightblue has opted to stay in the lane, and he doesn't quite have the ward cooldown to check, so he did down throw on the Shroud just to make sure, safe play from him, not wanting to get ganked again. Moonway, though, does now have a CS and experience advantage in this in this lane. Zingy once again going mid, knowing that that flash is down. Good coordination from the team. Golden Glue going to go down pretty easily there. Red buff, of course, slowing him down. And without a flash, like I mentioned earlier, not a full ton of defensive options for the mid lane. So good on Zingy to rotate back there, and good on Voyboy for the follow-up. So shutting down this Xerath early means that Voyboy is going to be able to force a lot more objectives in this early game, and you can see the team as a whole now heading to Dragon. This one is a little aggressive, but with the strength of Wind Wall on Yasuo, they are going to be able to deny those first few auto attacks and keep themselves safe. Iuzi and Biofrost not so into giving up a free Dragon, so they do opt to go up there and pressure, letting the enemy team know that, hey, if you do decide to do this and you do go low, we will finish you off, and there's a good chance we'll steal Dragon too. Nightblue is going to go down there and try to check on the Dragon. Doesn't put a ward, but does see that they have not started it, and that Dragon Pit is now warded from Biofrost. Moonway in the top lane still looking really dominant, about 10 CS ahead. Not the biggest lead, you know, we'll still see that start to shift as Akali gets level 6. Once she gets that Shadow Dance, she's going to be able to trade a lot more effectively, and that's a pretty huge part of her damage rotation, because at this point, Mark of the Assassin is pretty much her only way to harass safely, but now all of her skills become viable in this all-in when she's able to use them, when she's able to dash in and get into range to use them. So that level 6 coming out now. I'm curious to see exactly how the burst damage is going to come out. Zingy once again now in the top lane. You know, got mid lane rolling, now is going to try to get top lane rolling. If you can get this Akali ahead, then there's nothing Moonway is going to be able to do. They do see the Jarvan coming, I think, though, and Moonway, despite being slightly more tanky, has to play careful against the Zingy here. Zingy, however, not level 6, not able to trap that Aurelia up, and is going to play full aggressive here. Nightblue coming in, is going to try to execute Sicko Scott here. Sicko Scott will go down as Zingy may have overextended a little bit, will get stunned. Moonway backing off, doesn't want to commit too hard, and Zingy going to EQ under the tower. Nightblue using the Spiderlings to tank, does not have Repel available, it looks like, so does have to back off instead of continuing too hard. Voyboy rotating up, though. Does flash over the wall, does see that a ward was placed, so he knows he needs to run. Of course, Golden Glue rotating up, going to try to stop this kill from happening. Nightblue looks like he will go down here. Yeah, no really good escape option. Voyboy, despite missing the Steel Tempest, does pick it up with that auto attack. So, you know, good rotation from Golden Glue to respond to that and go up and try to protect his laner, but there's not a whole lot you can do when you're already behind the Yasuo, and if, you know, Nightblue does manage to get out, it'll most likely be at the cost of Golden Blue's life, because he just is not in a situation where he can fight this Yasuo pick. Mid lane, of course, bot lane, sorry, getting pushed in. I Am Matlife getting hooked by a Biofrost, not a whole lot going to happen there. Ethel and I Am Matlife using their advantage in this lane at this point to push in as much as possible. Despite the fact that items are even, you can see that they clearly have advantage in the support pick, in the sense that Lulu is always going to be able to harass safely, and it's going to offer a lot more protection for AD carry, whereas Biofrost is pretty reliant on that hook to get a good engage, and even then, without a jungler there to follow up, they don't really have the burst necessary to take any of these characters out. I Am Matlife, however, is going to get hooked, and Iuzi getting polymorphed almost immediately there, trying to get stopped. Iuzi going to run in, getting exhausted once again when he tries to all-in I Am Matlife, so you know, consistently, the all-ins not coming frequently enough from Iuzi and Biofrost to get anything there, as that is the second time that they have been exhausted away from a potential kill. Iuzi, however, is now level 6, and that exhaust is not available from Lulu, so if the same thing does happen again, it's most likely that Lulu will go down. She, of course, not level 6 either, not going to have that wild growth, not going to have that extra health in those situations. Golden Glue does get the stun off, but can't really follow up with anything else, and you can see pretty clearly that Voyboy is dominating this mid lane, despite not having an amazing CS advantage. He does have Avarice Blade and is getting more out of his farm than Golden Glue at this point, and is providing so much pressure, you know, able to roam up in that top lane pretty freely after he pushes out every time. So strong play from Voyboy overall. This is kind of more the Yasuo play we were hoping from him last game. It's clear that without a Azir to harass safely, they're not going to get anything. As Zingy once again going aggressive in the spot lane. Biofrost may go down here. They do dodge the Elise Cocoon. Biofrost does land the hook, does ult onto Nightblue. Is going to get blown away by that Tristana ultimate. Nightblue not too scared here. Ethel does manage to spell shield something, but not quite the rocket jump. So Iuzi going off here, looking like the Uzi from China that we all know and love. Hyper aggressive AD carry plays. Good response from Nightblue on that Zingy gank. Disappointing play from them, and you know, I Am Matlife just not able to do a whole ton there in that fight, and Voyboy playing a little too aggressive to try to clean up. Golden Glue throwing out those ultimates, and Nightblue making away with just a sliver of health. No jungler, no problem though, with so many people dead on the opposite side. They are going to opt to try to take Dragon. Excellent play from Nightblue's side. You know, traditionally in the past, we've seen this kind of swing in the favor of Voyboy in these early games, but it's very clear that they're much more confident, that their bot lane is playing incredibly well this game. You know, those thresholds coming in huge, and despite the fact that Lulu does have good trading and good utility, when it comes down to burst damage, she can't really match a Thresh and a Tristana in these fights just because of how much damage the box can do and how much CC and control in a team fight Thresh's kit can give you between the Flay and the Death Sentence. So, absolutely amazing play. Sicko Scott farming under turret now. Looking to try to catch up from what he lost out on in the early game. You can see Aurelia still up 77 to 59. He did opt, Akali did opt to get that Hextech Revolver, hoping that the Spell Vamp will keep him in lane just a little bit longer, and then of course her passive also giving her a little bit more. You know, and one of the big dangers here is that Akali is going to be an amazing assassin in this mid to late game and will be able to take out a lot of these key targets like Tristana, assuming she doesn't get CC'd away. But the other issue is that Aurelia has, you know, that Ionian Fervor passive and is going to be really hard to lock down on the opposite side. So Moonway, I think, is definitely going to outscale in this late game. Aurelia can, of course, build a lot less damage and still do an immense amount of sustained damage, where Akali is all about burst. A little bit concerning to see how this late game is going to work out, but I think once Akali can finish that Hextech Gunblade, we're going to see a huge power spike, and with any luck, if they can provide more pressure in this top lane, you do see Zingy busting out his ult there. Moonway getting aggressed onto Sicko Scott, using his combos pretty patiently. He does have the options to do damage here. Moonway still managed to get out that Zingy kill and does end up going down to Sicko Scott, so amazing play from Moonway there to get the 1-for-1, and maybe a little bit too much patience with Sicko Scott on his combos and his rotations there. So, you know, more advantage to the top lane, and 1-for-1 trading against Aurelia is never what you want to do. Aurelia pretty much outscales the majority of champions in this game, and as she gets closer and closer to that Triforce, she's going to be doing more and more damage, and Akali may not be able to keep up. You do see Nightblue up there, still trying to get that Akali pick, you know, forced out of top lane. Don't think he'll be able to win this duel if push comes to shove, but he does have a lot of tanky stats, opting to go for that Juggernaut. Good choice overall, does give cooldown reduction and tenacity, two stats that very much benefit Elise. Looks like he will opt to go for the tanky build though, which I think in the end could be very strong. Neither side's jungler opting to go for a Sightstone. That is something we saw Trick2G's team do in the last game to much success, gave them excellent early game and mid game ward coverage. So not surprising that we don't see either side doing it, given how far buying that item puts you behind, but at the same time, I think that ward coverage could come in handy. Nightblue placing, of course, that pink ward on the top side of the map will give his team a good sense of exactly where Zingy is trying to go. Voyboy now trying to all in Golden Glue. However, Nightblue is on the way. Voyboy will get locked up there. This is dangerous territory for him. Golden Glue opting to heal. Does have that ultimate available. Voyboy hot step and dodging 2 or 3 out of 3 procs on that ultimate. So good dodges from Voyboy, but unfortunately does have to burn the flash, of course, trading it for Golden Glue's heal and a little bit of Nightblue's time. As well as Nightblue's flash, actually, in that case. Hi, Uzi playing pretty aggressive here. Doesn't opt to take the Lantern. Looking to trade with IM Matlife, and you can see once again, this is another lane similar to top lane where in the mid game, Tristana may be able to, or rather, Sivir may be able to keep up with Tristana, but in the late game, Tristana's superior range is going to be a huge difference here, and also having that jump and that reset utility. So at this point, Nightblue's team getting an early advantage is good for them. It gets them safely through the game, despite the fact that Nightblue now got absolutely bursted out by a Zingy, and a Zingy, of course, using that full Jarvan rotation to its maximum potential, does so much damage in this mid game, and he does have that armor penetration and cooldown reduction, which is comparable to Nightblue's stats, which are purely health. So when Nightblue's low health, you can just pretty much blow him up. Meanwhile, Akali in that top lane now almost is finishing both pieces to the Gunblade. Did do a ton of damage to Moonway in that situation. You did see her winning that trade out, forcing Moonway out of lane, but Sicko Scott now, while he will probably finish this Gunblade, he won't really get to do too much with it until he's able to leave lane. You do see him opting for boots of mobility instead of trying to finish that. Smart choice from him, knowing that he can't really win these trades in top lane. Zingy once again headed bottom, is going to opt in to go on a Briar Patch. He does not have ult, he just used it on Nightblue, but he does get Wild Growth by Lulu, offering a lot of CC. Uzi still playing forward, still playing very aggressive. Ethel in trouble here. A little too aggressive with that spell shield. Golden Glue coming in with excellent play. Good on him for being in this bot lane. Does not get that CC off. Does not matter because he's got that extended range on his Q. And just amazing play from Nightblue's team. They see the amount of pressure that Zingy is trying to put in this bot lane, and they respond incredibly well every time. Voyboy, you know, not optimal back timing there. So despite the fact that Voyboy as an individual is ahead, it's costing his team, and his team is now about 1K, almost 2K gold behind. So Voyboy once again looks like he may get caught out here. doesn't really have the tanky stats to do much. Xerath opting to ult, does not take out Voyboy despite hitting all 3 shots this time, so very, very close. But once again, this looks like something that's going more and more in the favor of Nightblue's team, Voyboy's team. Maybe not having the best night. Moonway does get that turret, first turret of the game, and now pushing their team ahead from what was almost 2K to almost 3K. 3K almost exactly, actually. So Golden Glue, excellent play. He was obviously behind in this early game, but he has opted to swap into this mid lane. Or not opted to swap, sorry. He has done pretty well in this mid lane as time has gone on. Obviously not winning those 1v1 fights with Voyboy, but able to rotate really efficiently. Did show up in that bot lane for those couple kills, which are putting his team pretty far ahead. And I'm really looking for Nightblue's team to try to contest more dragons, try to get more objectives here, because it's very clear that they have a substantial gold advantage, and that without a Kali or Voyboy showing up, that they're going to win these 3v3 jungler ADC support engages every time. And of course, it's always going to be easy for Golden Glue to show up and support these fights, as he does have his ultimate available. Golden Glue not having the mana nor the passive to get the mana back, but the damage from Thresh combined with the Ignite is going to be enough to take him out. Zingy, however, is going to fall up. That Thresh Lantern is no longer there. Golden Glue does get the stun off, however, may die to minions here. Gets, or looks like Zingy opted to ult Biofrost to keep wow, looks like he opted to ult Biofrost to keep Golden Glue in the Cataclysm there, which did end up giving him the Cataclysm kill. Biofrost then almost immediately going down to Zingy and Ethel's Boomerang Blade, and now the team as a whole will opt to go for Dragon. That King Ward instantly coming out to make sure that they are going to be uncontested. Nightblue looks like he's hovering around. May try to steal it with the Smite, but this is a pretty risky play if he does. Zingy does have Smite available. Will take it pretty quickly, and now both teams have the attack boost, so that unseen gold advantage is sort of nullified as both teams currently have it. Uzi trying to trade with Ethel there. Not working out so well for him because he tanked part of that Boomerang Blade, and Matt was able to offer the shield, but you can see that in a one-on-one situation, Sivir would be drastically behind. Despite the fact that they have almost equivalent items, Uzi is playing, the hyper-scaling AD carry, whereas Sivir has excellent utility and can still do amazing damage, but gives up a lot of that damage because of how much utility her ult offers the team. Substantial farm differential in the mid lane, 20 ahead for Voyboy. Not the end of the world, however, for Golden Glue. Once he gets his blue buff, it's going to be pretty easy for him to farm safely. And, as we mentioned earlier, despite the fact that Voyboy consistently has that lane push out and can rotate, Xerath has such amazing range with that ultimate that a lot of that is nullified because he has to go half the distance to be able to provide pressure on a lane, whereas Voyboy has to physically get there. And Xerath can, of course, just ult from halfway down the river. And as he gets into later levels, that range is going to get greater and greater, and he has gotten to level 11, which means that level 2 ult, easier and easier for him to show up and support these lanes. And overall, I think utilizing this pick very, very well. The Marillanomicon, of course, giving him more cooldown reduction, giving more access to his ultimate, and a small amount of mana regen. Nightblue getting caught out there. This is dangerous for him as Zingy does burst down, and Sicko Scott, of course, using all of those jumps to get to Elise and taking her out really quickly. No Dragon, unfortunately, contest with the jungler down, but it looks like they will opt to try to get Aurelia out of this top lane. Nope, never mind. Zingy is going to go back while Sicko Scott tries to pick up some farm. Voyboy once again pushing out. Going to try to clear out a lot of this ward coverage. Doesn't see the pink at first, does see it now, is going to take it out. Golden Glue playing a little cheeky and try to get that stun. Doesn't look like they see Aurelia coming. Voyboy playing very cautious, has to be very careful about how he gets out of here. Does get slowed down there. Moonlight going all in here. Voyboy trying his best to play hot feet and dodge all of those shots, but couldn't do it with an Aurelia bearing down on him, so they do get that down pretty quickly. Uzi getting caught out here, but it looks like Golden Glue and Aurelia are on the way. Sicko Scott going in on Biofrost. Biofrost will most likely get taken out here, unfortunately, just because he does not quite have the same mobility as Aurelia, and of course Tristana, who has that rocket jump to get to safety. They do, however, take out that turret. 3 turrets up now for Nightblue's team. Substantial gold lead. Well, actually about the same, 3K. A lot of kills going back for Voyboy's team, which kind of caught it up a little bit, and then of course Voyboy still has a decent lead in the mid lane as far as farm goes, so both teams pretty even if it comes down to a team fight, but once again it looks like Nightblue's team doing a much better job providing split pressure, which as we saw last game tends to be Voyboy's team's kryptonite. They keep going for this Yasuo pick, they keep going for these Akali picks, and despite the fact that Akali and Yasuo are both individually good duelists, they don't really compare to Aurelia in this mid to late game. And of course Xerath never has to worry about split pushing because he's always going to be able to clear that lane reliably. Ethel getting ulted immediately. Moonway going in aggressive. Uzi back came up on Tristana, doing the damage. Moonway getting exhausted to slow him down there. Moonway immediately going in, hitting that jump reset, double kill, and now it looks like the triple kill. Not quite. Nightblue taking it away. Scumbag Nightblue denying the triple. But Moonway just doing so much for his team there. Such good use of his teleport cooldown to get into that bot lane. And Just excellent play. Meanwhile, of course, Sicko Scott not able to respond, did not have his teleport available, and not offering the same amount of damage in CC that Aurelia does at this point in the game. Of course, the Kali pick just mostly focused on pure damage, you know, and they're hiding in that bush trying to be a little cheeky, but they're not going to get much off of it. So the two strongest damage dealers on Voyboy's team trying to defend a turret aren't going to fare so well against so much poke and so much range coming out from the opposite side. Sicko Scott immediately hooked and taken down. No surprises there. This is dangerous for them. Elise opting to use the spider lanes to tank the turret, and the turret will go down. The team will most likely back off here, but they are all so healthy, and they still have 5 members. So they can pretty much get this blue buff as well as get vision control of this enemy jungle. You can see Voyboy immediately leaving, knowing that he can't contest that jungle, knowing that he can't enter there without proper vision coverage, and Thresh and Tristana now opting to push out this mid lane, trying to get the safest speed possible, knowing that if they push out and provide pressure in all lanes, that there's not really a whole lot the enemy will be able to do to them, or a whole lot of vision they'll be able to gain, because they will have to stay in these lanes to farm. Nightblue, a little bit risky positioning there, doesn't get seen out, and the enemy team does get the Scuttle Crab, or will get the Scuttle Crab. Not going to do a whole lot given the Dragon will be up in 1:30, and the Scuttle Crab is only going to last for a minute. I am Matlife, playing a dangerous game here, trying to get that deep vision. Thought that they had already gone back. Biofrost there to back up Uzi, but not a whole lot is going to come out of that. Most of the team members are back now, so you can see Voyboy's team responding by playing a little bit more forward, a little bit more aggressive, but as Golden Glue is now returned to lane and the rest of the team is now here to back him up, Golden Glue, of course, finishing that Zanya's. The team fights are not really going to be in Voyboy's favor, especially if they can't get the positioning they want. You can see that there's a lot of hard engage options coming in from Akali, coming in from Voyboy on that Yasuo pick, coming in from Lulu and Jarvan. All these champions can go in and can get wild growth, which will be an excellent way for Voyboy to follow up, but at the same time, if they can't find that initiation, if they get peeled away by Thresh and that Elise and that Aurelia, Golden Glue and Uzi are going to be able to sit in the back and do so much damage to the team and do enough damage to carry the team. You see Nightblue continuing to build full tank, and a lot of this is because he has a hyper carry like Tristana and a scaling top laner like Aurelia. So he doesn't need to build damage. His job is more to peel. His job is more to finish off champions with those executes. And Moonway now looking to play aggressive here. Doesn't have a pink ward here to stop the Akali though, so a little bit greedy for him to go in there, but of course with no one else in that top lane, he doesn't really have to worry about getting killed himself. On the bottom side of the map, you can see Voyboy's team kind of starting to group, looking to clear out this bot side for vision control, knowing that the enemy team had spent a little bit of time in there previously before their last back. It doesn't look like they're going to catch anyone. They do see Biofrost coming up. They may try to get a pick here, but they also see Uzi and Nightblue coming down from the top side of the map. So they are going to opt to go for this Dragon Control. Voyboy and Sicko Scott in no position to contest, and of course Tristana, Nightblue, Tristana, Elise, and Thresh doing so much damage to that they can clear it pretty quickly. Once again, we see this Tristana pick continuing to scale up, has finished the Static Shiv, as opposed to Sivir, who's only finished the Zeal, and of course Golden Glue getting the last hit on that Voyboy kill there while Moonway tries to get the solo. Nightblue going in there on Sicko Scott. Sicko Scott doing a lot of damage, but looks like he may get burst out here. Biofrost and Nightblue in a tough spot, but Uzi and Golden Glue successfully peeling back as they get that damage off. I am Matlife. Can't really do much from his position currently, but is trying to support his team. The Spider does come in from Elise, and not a whole lot is going to come from that other than the initial kill on Voyboy. Trading the mid laner for the support, not a good trade for Voyboy's side, so it'll be interesting to see how exactly Nightblue's team takes advantage of this. They will most likely be pushing down this mid lane, as expected. Zingy, however, going to go in for the second engage, knowing they can get a lot of damage from Sicko Scott. Sicko Scott, of course, doing a ton of damage there. A lot of the cooldowns blown. Sicko Scott almost gets to go run through the whole team, but Uzi jumps out after one kill, gets the assist on the next one, jumps back in pretty safely. Moonway coming in hard carrying on this Aurelia pick. Never pick Akali into Aurelia, ladies and gentlemen. Akali will just never be able to keep up in the scaling, and despite the fact that she has superior mobility, you can see already that this Aurelia pick for Moonway, 8-1 and 5, doing so well. Nightblue may get taken out here. He's probably going to be able to jump down to the Raptors, and Uzi able to jump away. Nightblue, of course, still hungry for blood, but may have to run into Moonway to get something here, and you do see him throwing that ward behind him. Definitely doesn't want to get picked up here. Has to be careful about how he fights Voyboy here, though. Voyboy does have his ultimate available, but the stun is going to go down, and it looks risky. Moonway, of course, doing so much damage with that Q, and not a whole ton of options there for Voyboy. Voyboy caught in a hard spot. Did get a kill there, but, you know, once again, trading a mid laner for a jungler, not the end of the world. And You can see already how these fights and how these skirmishes and how this Aurelia carry has been going swinging in the favor of Nightblue's team. They have about an 8k gold lead here. Absolute objective control. Not amazing vision, but not necessarily the most important thing at this point in the game. Voyboy's team hasn't really been looking for picks. They've been staying grouped, staying to try to force these team fights. But every catch Zingy seems to get on a squishy character is almost immediately denied. You know, Golden Glue still has flash, so despite the fact that that team fight was long and like drawn out, Golden Glue went down but didn't pull a flash. So in this next one, he's going to have that defensive cooldown, which will be huge. You know, burns one more of Akali's dashes, and of course Biofrost on this Thresh pick. It's impressive that Thresh even got through, because Thresh is so good at peeling off these assassins like Akali, peeling off these characters like Yasuo. So overall, once again, I feel like Nightblue's team comp is just so very, very strong, and despite the fact that they may have suffered in the mid game, they pretty much shored that up by getting such a huge early advantage. And now at this point, it's just going to be a matter of ending the game. And the most difficult thing for them, of course, unlike Trick2G's team, who consistently split push to get those inhibitor towers down, they now have to group as 5 to force those. So really need to be looking for these fights. Moonway, of course, hungry for blood, 9, 1, and 5, does have that Blade of the Rune King, does have that Trinity Force. So much potential damage coming out from him, and they have to be really careful, because if Aurelia opts a split push, she'll be able to 1v1 kill anyone, but if she opts the team fight, they have to blow all of their CC on keeping her off squishy targets like Ethel, like Voyboy, which is going to be difficult when Voyboy wants to get deep into the fray to try to kill characters like Golden Glue or iUzi. Little bit of a mispick here, I think, from Voyboy's team overall. Their team comp lacks a lot, and I think at the end of the day, good choice from Moonway to pick up this Aurelia, clearly showing a lot of confidence on it, playing incredibly well. Biofrost, of course, hungry for that hook, doesn't get it. A lot of poke coming out there from Ethel, but it's not going to matter too much at this point in the game, and Golden Glue getting so much damage is immediately going to ult. May, in fact, be able to take out I Am Matlife. Does get that kill, as Zingy, of course, using the flag and drag to get out of there, but those are the kind of picks that they want, and now you can see them immediately pinging that top wave. Gonna try to get that second tier top turret down. Nightblue seeing his team's gonna go for that. May try to deny some jungle, may try to team up with Moonway to win a 2v3 here, although, you know, I think Moonway's fed and very far ahead, but I don't know if he can win a 2v3 at this point. Ethel, of course, popping that movement speed cooldown, not looking to get caught out there. iUzi wrapped up from the side, and Zingy, despite the fact that he was looking to collapse on them, now that his team has ran away, he has to be incredibly careful about how he fights here. iUzi chunking him out really quickly, and of course, the team moving as a whole. That top lane wave still not pushed in, but the team a little bit more eager for it now that they see they're not going to get that team fight that they wanted. So top lane turret most likely going down here. Voyboy's team, I don't think they're going to look for a fight here, just because the turret will most likely be down by the time they get there, but at the same time, you see, oh my gosh, Golden Glue just doing so much damage, so far ahead, caught all of that magic penetration early. And Moonway going a little too deep there, though. Instantly punished, instantly locked down under that inhibitor turret, and Voyboy and Sicko Scott, because no one else was present in the team fight, are able to blow all of their cooldowns on Moonway and take him out very quickly. So, you know, a little bit overextending from Moonway, a little bit of the team not following up on that. Overall, not getting the Lulu kill is pretty crippling for him there, but good play from Lulu to, you know, immediately ult herself, to immediately shield herself, knowing that if he goes down, or if she goes down, the team fight goes south. And of course, good response from Voyboy and Sicko Scott, seeing the rest of the team wasn't there and blowing all of their cooldowns to take out that just ridiculously fed Aurelia. That killing spree taken out, going to give them a little bit more of a gold advantage. Voyboy still opting to go in, 8k gold lead. Has to be careful here. Sicko Scott going in. They don't have that Aurelia there to peel off all these heavy characters now, or these heavy damage characters. As Zingy flying in, Golden Glue in the back, trying to get some follow-up here. Ethel has to play careful. Moonway, once he's now, you can see he's back, and none of the cooldowns are available. They have to be careful. They may try to go in here. Excellent use of Zhonya's there. Excellent use of those two assassins teaming up to take out Moonway. Moonway, of course, not having a whole ton of defensive stats yet, so despite the fact that he can do damage and that he's functionally immune to CC in these team fights, he still has to be careful about how he goes in, because Akali does have that Zhonya's. Akali does have, you know, that Gunblade, and of course, Voyboy has hit that legendary Yasuo power spike where he has 100% crit chance and he has Infinity Edge and Static Shift. So the team as a whole is now going to go for a Baron. This is going to be a huge advantage for them if they do manage to get it. It doesn't look like Golden Glue is going to be able to contest in time. May try to throw something out. Unlikely he'll get anything though. So Zingy does pick that one up, and Ethel immediately blowing that cooldown and kind of running straight into Golden Glue to die. But it's okay. The team still got the Baron, and they will trade 1-for-1 as far as kills go. And never mind, 2-for-1 as Sicko Scott fully utilizing the mobility of that Akali pick with those mobility boots to chase down Biofrost. So a little bit of the gold lead short up here. Suddenly an 8k gold lead turns into a 4k gold lead for Nightblue squad, and Voyboy's team looks like they're going to make it even more in their favor as this trade continues, as they win wall the dragon and immediately try to take it. Moonway coming in here again. We will see if he plays a little too far forward and gets picked off by Sicko Scott and Voyboy once again, but you know, they have to be careful here because if Moonway runs free in their back line, he is going to kill everyone. iUzi also there to follow up. A little bit of a late rotation from the team as a whole, but they did want to deny these backs as long as possible, try to create pressure in the lanes, and try to make up for this huge loss. So Voyboy's team, you know, 8k gold is a pretty substantial lead, but 4k gold at 30 minutes in the game, not that big of a deal. These empowered recalls, sending them back to pick up their new items, and we have now a pretty balanced team fight coming out from both sides. Of course, Aurelia still very, very far ahead, but if she continues to throw herself into this Yasuo and into this Akali, a lot of that gold advantage is mitigated just because so much of that gold advantage is on her. 9, 3, and 5, obviously very strong, but if she dies, you know, all that advantage is useless. So Nightblue's team needs to look for more preferential team fights that seem to start with thresh hook picks or start where, you know, people have to engage on them, because you can see clearly that when they try to engage team fights or when Moonway tries to start fights, they go south very quickly because of how fast Sicko Scott and Voyboy are able to do damage. And, you know, despite the fact that they aren't that tanky, it's hard for Tristana to follow up with that wind wall, and it's hard for Xerath to follow up if those targets aren't locked down. And when you can kill Aurelia in half a second, that's pretty much the only chance you have to fire anything off as a Xerath. Voyboy's team looking to clear out vision as much as possible, knowing that they have a small advantage with this Baron buff currently up, but still in a difficult position where they can't let themselves get caught out by this Aurelia. Moonway now opting to split push, clearly not happy with the way those team fights worked out, and may try to steal this blue away, although once again we see all 5 members converging, and Moonway, having a better sense, not seeing anyone on the map, knows that she needs to get out, or he needs to get out rather. Blue buff will probably pretty quickly go to Sivir. You know, not a terrible choice. Sivir does need a lot of mana to throw out those boomerangs. In that early game, that poke might help them keep up with the Xerath, although they do still have to be careful because Xerath does so much damage. Almost finishing that death cap. This is going to be another huge spike for him, getting maximum value out of his other items. Sivir ulting almost immediately. Interesting choice. Not really a whole ton of options for engage there without Akali. So maybe a little aggressive to burn that ultimate, but does have that blue buff, and that cooldown reduction means it'll be up that much faster. CS differential at this point pretty negligible. 20 in the advantage of Golden Blue. It has swung in his favor, but at this point 20 CS doesn't mean the end of the world. Voyboy once again opting to go for that Bloodthirster over the Blade of the Rune King. Really likes to have that shield in those engages. Really likes to come into those fights with as much health as possible, as opposed to the Blade of the Rune King, which gives him a little bit more dueling potential and a little bit more damage against tankier characters. But with no one on the enemy team outside of Nightblue building health, maybe it isn't the right item to get at this point in the game. Jarvan, of course, building that Warmogs, wants to sustain up, wants to keep as much health as possible. Doesn't really have a whole lot of magic resist at this point, though, which is really dangerous because you have this Xerath who can pretty much 100 to 0 majority of the people on your team. So questionable itemization maybe, but at the same time we do see Azini now going in unafraid. Golden Glue going to dodge most of that Boomerang Blade's damage. Akali now running in hungry for blood. They see that Moonway is not there, and as I talked about earlier, that gold advantage is almost non-existent when Moonway is not present in the team fight. Voyboy instantly following up with that Windwheel, not letting any of his team take response damage. Nightblue, Biofrost, and iUzi remain in this mid-game team fight, and of course Aurelia still trying to split down the bot lane. Probably not the best choice. It'll be interesting to see if iUzi can clear out this wave. It looks like Voyboy's team doesn't want to overextend and push for anything. Still very cautious after getting split pushed out the last game. Are going to opt to play defensive here and go to try to stop Moonway down there on the bottom side of the map. So defensive play, but good play. You know, they did manage to get that pick. They did burn a lot of those Jarvan cooldowns, despite the fact that I claimed that Jarvan could get bursted down 100% by this Xerath pick. It's kind of hard to do when Jarvan's right on top of you and you have such a huge health pool. So a little off there, but now that Xerath has this death cap, he looks like he'll pretty much be able to burst down all of the squishier targets on the enemy team. Jarvan, of course, excluded. Akali opting to grab that Negatron cloak and that chain vest, looking for a quick Guardian Angel, knowing that she might be able to leap in, get a kill, and then have her team follow up before she respawns. So good itemization from her. I imagine we'll see something similar coming out of Voyboy here pretty soon, although he does opt for the Elixir of Bloodlust, I believe. Or the Elixir... Bear with me, I can't remember any of the elixir names. The one that gives you Bloodlust, the one that gives you more damage, the one that's going to extend as long as you keep fighting, and of course Voyboy's team wants to keep fighting, so they're going to get the maximum value out of the elixir. You'll see he'll probably wait to pop until they start that team fight, but when he does, he gets that much more healing and that much more damage in these team fights. whole team moving to group on Xerath. It looks like they didn't really expect this movement from Voyboy's team, and Voyboy's team moving confidently down in this mid lane. No one there to contest at this point. It looks like it could be a base race situation. All 5 members of the enemy team on the top side of the map. Xerath does opt to back, though, may hope to clear out these waves. But, you know, all 5 members on Voyboy's team happy with that turret, not looking to give up an inhibitor here, and are going to back as 5. Although it looks like it may be too late. You know, on the opposite side, we do have that wave coming in. Moonway and the whole team playing aggressive, getting that tower. And once again, Voyboy's team opting for a poor trade as far as objectives go. Of course, not as far behind as they were in the previous game, but still, you know, giving up that inhibitor tower means that Aurelia split pushing on that is going to be that much more powerful. And it also means that, you know, Aurelia not showing up to team fights is that much less impactful, because if she does get that map objective, her not being there justifies it. So Voyboy's team should still look to force team fights while Aurelia split pushes, and you can see Matlife playing hyper aggressive here. He may go down, has to be very careful, immediately ults himself to be safe. As Zingy not looking to go in too aggressive there, still does have Cataclysm. Of course, Golden says, "Oh, I see you running. I've got the range. Let's just take you out." Matlife not quite as predictive as Voyboy when it comes to dodging those skill shots, but of course, Matlife also has to run away from the other 4 people barreling down on him. Once again, Nightblue's team looking to secure this dragon. This will be their 3rd dragon, the one that gives them movement speed, so this advantage will be pretty substantial, especially for Aurelia. It means it'll be that much easier for her to get in the back line, and of course, makes it a little bit easier for the rest of the team members too, whether it's running away or engaging. Sicko Scott going in on Golden Glue. We do know that Golden Glue, I believe, does not have a Zanya's cooldown. Does immediately go down to his Zingy there. Uzi a little bit too deep in the fray here. Might go down to Sicko Scott. Sicko Scott doing way too much damage, and of course, Voyboy in the outline along with Sicko Scott just mopping up all those kills. Voyboy popping that elixir, doing so much damage, extending the duration with all of those kills and assists, and every member but Nightblue taken out there. This is the team fight that they didn't want. You know, Moonway getting bursted down immediately. This team fully utilizing their damage to take everybody out, and of course Golden Glue dying at the start of that fight and not having his ultimate available meant that that team fight was pretty easy to pick up for Voyboy's squad. So Voyboy's team looks like they may try to end here. They do have 11 seconds. Nightblue may take out Ethel here, but isn't quite able to get it. Now does opt to grab it, and it looks like Voyboy's team not looking to get this pushed out again, go for the quick close, and they are going to get the game here. GG to Voyboy's team. Once again, despite Nightblue's team starting off early and strong, they do actually end the game defeated. And overall, I would say that I liked their lineup, and I liked the way their lineup played, but Moonway, you know, despite getting ahead in the early game, did kind of throw a lot of that away by getting caught out consistently, you know, going from 9-1-5, I believe, to 9-4-5. So dying 3 times consecutively without really getting it.